Welcome to Freelance Sucks. Here we discuss the dark side of freelancing about which nobody usually talks out loud. In this show, we speak with experienced freelancers, and I'm sure listening to their stories helps you prepare for freelancers' challenges. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Balach Hussain, a freelance product manager with over 10 years of experience, podcasts host, Agile coach, and the founder of epekworks, the tool which helps plan your goals. So, welcome, Balach.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
And the first question for you as a freelancer, what is the most challenging part of being a freelancer?
To choose a project. And I say this with a bit of facetiousness because often there's a lot of work that comes your way and you have to make those choices, right? Not all work is created equal. And as a freelancer, you have in a way, the curse of choice because you commit anyway. So what are you going to commit to? Of course, there's also the uncertainty, which is it has to be mentioned when you have just finished a project or when you really want to make sure your next project is taken care of and there's nothing coming through or projects are falling apart or falling aside. I think, honestly, that would be the worst part of it because everything else is process, is putting in the time. But that's the one part that is completely not in your control. And you have no idea whether you should plan a holiday or do anything else. So I think that, to be honest, uncertainty of what is next and when that's happening is probably the worst part of it.
How do you deal and how do you make this less uncertain, or is it always uncertainty?
I think the uncertainty is a given. You cannot make it any less uncertain. We have all had many experiences. I have had recently a whole bunch of interviews where if you ask me, so how do you feel? I would literally say, I know the job is mine. But something happens, investors come in, budgets go to the side, and then something that was basically a done deal falls away. At the same time, something else comes up and you're super excited about it 2 days later. And you're like, yeah, if you believe in the mystery of the universe, you go like, that's why that didn't work out because this was the one. So there's ups and downs, and what you can do is manage your energy. You cannot change the uncertainty of it. And oftentimes the uncertainty leads to newer, different adventures. So I'm learning to embrace it.
You talked about the flow of projects. How did you build this flow? How projects are finding you?
To be honest, I'm a very lucky person. I have you guys, Code Control. So I have a set of friends in you who are always on the look for projects that would fit me. And that's a wonderful feeling. And I have the same with my ex-colleagues. So if I think about the last couple of years, essentially every project worth doing, every interesting project either came through Code Control or through my ex-colleagues. So that's my flow. People know me and people know my work. And now that they know that I'm available on short-term projects, also long-term projects, but I'm available. Everybody loves to work with somebody they know are good at what they do, and I have the same feeling. I have made introductions in these last couple of years as well that have been part of other people's deal flow.
But it's not like you always want to refer somebody. So why do you think, except for being a professional, why do you think people are referring you projects?
Well, other than being a professional, I would say it has to do with how I approach work. And I think a lot of people do the same. I just have found the words to express it this way. So let me speak on behalf of a lot of freelancers that I know and care about, is that I approach work as if I'm going to make new friends.
Mm.
I approach code control as if it's not just an company or business or agency that finds contracts and gets its fees, but it's a place where potentially there's 600 friends that I can make.
Yes.
And it changes. It's the relationship with people. It's paying attention to them. It definitely improves the professional aspect of it, but it's building up this kind of a shared language, shared values, and that's how you get to connect with people, and that's what feeds back into it.
Yeah, so it's still all about connection and being kind, being open. Yeah, that's what I always tell people, like, be a good person and people will love you. But then, like, no. Okay. What is the most time-consuming thing you must deal with as a freelancer?
For me, to be honest, other than the professional aspects, right? Like you have to prepare presentations, you have to do certain things. My last gig required a lot of use product discovery, so there was a lot of research, quantitative, qualitative, interviewing people, synthesizing results, discussing prototypes, all sorts of things, presenting. So there's a lot of the usual work. And as freelancers, companies want to maximize your busy time, understandably so. And so that takes a lot of time. But the one that actually I put in more energy in, that takes a lot of time, is really carving out time to meet people and talk to people. So I've had taken time outside of work hours to meet people, if they're all busy and if I'm all busy, to grab a drink with somebody, to go to a meetup, to have a call, to kind of make sure if there's a team barbecue happening and if I can make it to be there. And that does take a lot of time because you have to carve that time out, but it's worth every bit.
So even though you are a freelancer and it's maybe part-time job, you are still trying to create the best connections with the team.
Absolutely. And also learning about the business. So I also notice that almost every job that I've done in the last 5-6 years, before my starting date, I've spent anything from 1 to 5, 6, 7 days reading up on a lot of things that my new colleagues have already shared with me, or I'm just doing some research. And that does take time, and that continues during the job as well. But it helps everything. It helps all of those aspects of building the connection and the concrete work that you're supposed to be doing.
You already told me about uncertainty, but still, what is the most nerve-consuming thing you must deal with?
I think so. Uncertainty was between projects, right? The most nerve-consuming thing can happen when sometimes people don't see your commitment or the value you're creating, and I understand that, and that many factors play into it. So let me give you an example. I once had a gig where the bosses wanted to protect me from all the meetings that were happening. Understandably so, their team was overflooded with meetings. Perhaps half of those could have been completely canceled anyway. So they made sure that I had a regular one-on-one with my direct line manager, and I had some regular meetings with the people that I was working directly with. But they didn't invite me to the team daily meetings. Now, the problem with that is, especially as if you're a product person and you've prepared a lot of the work that is to be done, but you're not in direct contact with the team, you get the questions and the feedback indirectly. Or there was a question in this morning's daily which could have been answered in 2 minutes, but you learn about it in your one-on-one 3 days later, or somebody writes to you and then you have to ask about the context. So the protective mechanism, which comes from the company thinking that, as a freelancer, they want to maximize your time, and ends up hurting you because you then have to spend even more time chasing down this information. And so you kind of now have the double job of getting your work done, making sure that other people can do their job, and somehow relating back to the company that even as a freelancer, you're as much part of the team as anybody else because you're fully committed. You're perhaps putting in a lot more effort as well because you're in a different setting. You don't have a full-time contract. You want to make a good impression. And that sometimes can get to you because, it's like a couple in a fight where you're like, I'm doing everything and you're just not seeing it. And then, you're projecting your image onto me rather than really just talking to me and finding the best possible solution. And I think related to that is also when people think that maybe as a freelancer, you're not as committed. And to be honest, I don't think that's ever the case. I do know people who take a job as a job, but even then they are still committed. And one can talk to them and see if there's maybe a distance or disconnection. But for most people, I think freelancers are as committed as anybody else, sometimes even more, because they know they're going to have to leave and they are building their reputation while they're doing the work. And when I see that people don't see that, that hurts a little.
Yeah. Do you share this approach with managers before starting a project?
I do. I try to bring it from day one. Sometimes it's awkward for people because they're like, they're not used to it, right? They're not used to somebody saying it out loud where I talk to you and I'm like, I'm fully committed. Please invite me to anything and everything. Send me any materials that I need to read up on. And I would be happy to do this and this and this and this and this. And then they're like, whoa, calm down a bit. But generally, they appreciate it.
Got it. As a freelancer, do you feel professional loneliness?
Actually, last year I did for a moment. I think it depends on the project and the work you're doing. So the job that I had before was much more involved, and really freelancing was just a contract, a different clause on a piece of paper, but it was way more involved. And then the latest one was much more focused on a particular line of product that I needed to help build up. So I wasn't as fully connected and a bit shielded from the rest of the team. And then after leaving that, I had this feeling for a moment that I miss working with a team full time, whether it's full-time employment or freelance, but working with a team is fun and exciting and interesting. So I felt that, and I don't know how this feeling would change. I think maybe the next job would make me feel differently and I will forget about it, but I have felt it.
Never know. And what about conversations with colleagues, with same product managers?
You mean other freelancers or within the jobs?
Other freelancers, other experts, somebody you can exchange your experience, exchange your knowledge, exchange your feelings, like this professional circle, I would say, not only like project circle, but professional part.
So at the moment, I don't have such a professional circle. I kind of get it through the podcast. So I talk to engineering leaders and product managers and people who are thought leaders in that space as well. So I kind of get a bit of that from there. But I don't have like a mod squad of product managers who meet up every week and exchange. I think it's hard to organize as well, from the community work. Physical in-person events or even Zoom calls, regular Zoom calls, are hard to organize with the same set of people.
Yeah, exactly. And if your friend wanted to become a freelancer, what are top 3 things you'd advise them to consider before doing it?
I would go in order of what we talked about. You will have to deal with uncertainty. So get good at managing your own mindset. And 2, you will have to always learn on your own, right? So I think that's the case for anybody, but for freelancers, it's emphasized. There's no company development path. There's usually no Headspace subscription for you. You will have to keep learning on all levels, whatever you need to do on your own. And number 3, feel or think like a professional sports player, let's say like a professional footballer. This season you're at Barcelona and Madrid are your enemies, and you will crush them and you will win all competitions. And next season you're at Madrid and now Barcelona is the enemy, and you still have to bring in the same highest level of performance day in and day out. So there's no grudges. You have friends on both sides, but on the pitch, you are this professional who brings out their best no matter what. No matter if it is raining, no matter if the coach is about to be sacked, no matter if one of your teammates wants to replace you. Those would be the 3 things.
Is your favorite team Barcelona?
To be honest, no. I have graduated to loving good football. So I usually watch highlights and sometimes live matches, and whoever plays better is good for me. And I tend to favor underdogs.
And what is your favorite team for now?
At the moment, I would have to say I like Chelsea. That was the first football club that I started to like. So I appreciate them, and along the way, different football clubs. When Leicester were winning in that one season, I loved every game. Leicester were my favorites. At the moment, it's a bit open.
Yeah, free I can see if somebody wants to please play a good game, and yeah, I totally understand you. Balach, I wish to have the sky's the limit, but time is the limit. So the final question: if you were starting freelancing today, what is one thing you would have done differently?
If I was starting freelancing today, I think I would have highlighted a lot more of my past work, and also the work that is not necessarily on LinkedIn. Now I do that anyway as time has passed over the last couple of years, especially. But I've written articles, I've contributed to open source repositories on GitHub. Even though I'm a product manager, it's something to be highlighted. I do these podcasts, or I've supported other people with different projects. And I think as a freelancer, also as an employee, but as a freelancer, it's important to have some presence. It can be as simple as just posting more on LinkedIn about what you're learning or what you have recently done, because that's your marketing, and that's what reminds people of who you are, where you are, what you're doing, and helps them connect the dots when and if they need somebody who can do that, they remember you. I think that is important, because that is a way to keep in touch with your market. You're running a business as a freelancer, and nobody else is going to do that for you. You have to do it, and it's a way to invite feedback.
Talk out loud about yourself. It's so hard, but it's what we really need to do. Yeah, Balach, thank you very much for being so open and sharing your challenges, because it's always kind of sweet life for freelancers, but a little bitter. So thank you for sharing it today.
My pleasure.
And thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button or 5 stars and share it with your friends. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.